Y'all, if you have ever said yes to something where halfway through it, your body is starting to give you very strong indications that you should have said no, then I want you to listen to today's video, particularly if you're like me, where you have a tendency to make impulsive decisions that you often regret. And of course, if you're new here, my name is Karen McGill. I am an ADHD coach and creator, and I'm here for the busy, ambitious brains that don't always make the right decision the first time out, but that all changes today. So let's get into it. So here's the background and why I'm recording this video today. It has to do with why I make decisions that I so often regret. And a lot of this comes down to the nervous system, which is the piece that I'm just now learning that makes total sense. So keep listening because I'm going to break the whole thing down for you. The bottom line is that I made a public decision in my business, something that I've been noodling on for 3 years. And then I actually pulled the trigger on the thing quite impulsively in the moment. It was just like a new offering, and I put it out there, and I got 120 paying clients, and all on paper was going great, right? The clients showed up, I did the work, they seemed to like it, and all was going really well. The problem was that I had been thinking about doing this for 3 years, but there was a very strong voice inside me saying, no, I don't want to do this. But in the moment when I made that impulsive decision, there was another part of myself saying, you should absolutely do this thing. It makes sense. It'll scale. It's the way everybody's doing business these days. And that's the way I should do it too. And it was a membership model, which is something that I had always had apprehension about doing, but I completely ignored that part of myself and did it anyway. And 3 months into it is when I started to get those vibes of, this is not the right thing for me. And the vibes started very quietly, but got progressively louder and louder to the point where I was really not enjoying what I was doing. It had nothing to do with the people inside the membership. They were all wonderful. The topic was wonderful. All things were great. But something was up inside of me. And I had this really strong internal battle between this side of me who never wanted to do it in the first place and the side of me who was like, you should do this. And it turned into a shame spiral really quickly because I started to realize that I was not going to be able to push through this. For whatever reason, there was a real heavy cognitive load and it just felt like bad. And I could not figure out why. Not because it was too much work or anything like that. The feeling just was so strong. And of course, that fed into my story of you start things, you never finish them, you're unreliable, blah, 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 right? We all know what that story is like. But then I started asking myself, like, why is this really so hard for me? What is going on? And it just happened to be at the same time that I was reading this book right here, which is all about the autonomic nervous system and how it impacts our behavior. And what I learned is that the nervous system, which is there to protect us, we all know that, will often put us in fight or flight when it perceives something as being dangerous that's not dangerous at all. So running a membership is not a dangerous thing. However, if your brain, based on previous experiences, has any perceived sense of risk, because your brain is just a pattern generator and a predictor of future events, if it thinks that a membership might be in some way scary or risky for you, it will slow down all of your functions. So if you're in fight or flight, it makes it really hard to task initiate or be creative or connect with people. All of these things that you need to do when you're running a membership. And I was really on the struggle bus with all of it, which is not my general MO. I'm usually good at task initiation and I can usually connect with people. So this is why I was so flabbergasted as to why I just couldn't get myself to enjoy this. Now that I knew that that was what my nervous system was doing, I needed to go a layer deeper and understand these two conflicting parts that I had inside. The part that wanted to push through even though it was hard because that'll be a growth experience. You'll eventually get used to it. It'll be fine. You'll eventually feel safe and it'll be great and your business will run along tickety-boo. Meanwhile, there was this other part of me that was saying, no, this is not what we agreed to. I don't want to do this. And that was the part that was triggering the fight or flight response and not feeling safe. So I had to honor both of these voices that were inside me that had very conflicting ideas about what I should do and why. And as I started to listen to each of these voices, and really hear what they were saying, particularly the one that wanted me to keep going. And this is really important for any of you who tend to push through your feelings and just muscle through. When I was listening to what it was saying, it was a lot of cliches and shoulds. It was very ego based. And as I started to poke holes at what that side of me was saying, I realized that, not all resistance is fear based, and not all growth has to come with discomfort. So I started to realize that I was just pushing through because that's what this inner mother monologue that I have that's always telling me to push through wanted me to do. And as I tuned into this second voice, the one that did not want me to continue, it was saying something to the effect of, you promised me that we would never do anything in our business that is out of alignment with our energy. And I've made that like a public declaration. I say the same thing to other people all the time. But clearly, I have gone and done that again. And when I reminded myself of not only my values around freedom and flexibility, but also my personal needs, which also includes that value of freedom and flexibility, I realized that that value and need was being poked by the model I had set up. And while there were probably ways that I could have gerrymandered the membership so that it did better align with my needs and values, when I thought about it, it didn't make sense from an integrity standpoint, and I didn't want to go that route. And the highest decision I could make in that moment was just to be honest with my members and tell them what I was thinking, what I was feeling, and what I was going to do as a result, and obviously do it with integrity and make sure all of them were taken care of. So it all worked out, and that's great. But that's not the point. The point is I continue to make these decisions based on, call it ego or whatever you want to call it, where things should work out and I should do these things, even though there is a big ass part of me that does not want to do it. And I continue to stuff that person down because I see that person as my nemesis or the one that wants to hold me back. And what I'm realizing is that's not what it is at all. That part of me is the part that's trying to keep me honest with myself. It's the one that keeps reminding me what my values and needs are and making sure that I make decisions that are aligned with them rather than this part of me that just wants to go, go, go because it seems like the right decision at the time, which is like a huge light bulb moment and unlock for me in terms of how I'm going to make decisions going forward. So I want to break this down and give you some practical questions that you can apply in your own life if you find that you often do this as well, that you make decisions sometimes impulsively, but also you make decisions where you're thinking through them or you think you are, but there's a part of you that knows better and you're not listening to it and you power through only to regret it somewhere down the line. So if you find yourself in that position, here's 5 questions to ask yourself. I will also link them below if you want to keep them for your next journal session. The first question is, what specific part of the situation or decision that you're trying to make feels heavy or is keeping you stuck or feeling unsafe? The second question is around your personal values or needs, which if you don't know what those are yet, I will leave a link to my favorite assessments below. But the question is, which of my values or needs might be getting ignored or violated by making this decision? The third question is, if I say yes, am I saying yes out of genuine desire, or am I doing it out of obligation or a fear of what might happen if I say no? The fourth question digs into various parts of you that might have differing opinions. So if there's a strong element of yes to your decision, what part of you is that saying yes, and why does it want to say yes? And if there is a part of you that is now saying no, or if you're still debating the decision, what part of you wants to say no, and what does it want you to hear as well? And then the fifth question, if you were to leave with integrity and know that everything was going to work out fine, what decision would you make? And I have to say, these questions are not designed to talk you out of doing things. They are designed to help you get clarity on the various different parts of you that need to be seen and heard as it relates to the decision that you're making. And the more you take time to do this, not only are you going to become more self-aware, you're going to understand what your motivations are, be reminded of what your values and needs are, and you're going to make much better decisions in the future. Because here's the thing, we all need to learn the difference between making decisions that make us stretch and grow and those that lead us towards self-abandonment. And I don't know about you, but I tend to lean towards the latter, and I am trying to change that one day at a time. So I hope that little story of failure, if you will, was helpful and that you now have a better idea of how to see the various parts of yourself that need to be seen and heard, and also understand that your nervous system plays a big role in the choices and behaviors that you tend to repeat in patterns. So if you do find yourself making decisions in a pattern that you tend to regret later, there's probably something in your past that your brain and nervous system is trying to protect you from by avoiding it in the future. And by getting super clear on that, you're going to make more mindful and just better decisions for yourself in the future. So on that note, thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.